Hello and welcome to Outlook's The Outlier, the show where we get people who are top in their fields, but that is not all. They are much more. They are unafraid to go against the grain. They're unafraid to swim against the tide. They're all iconoclasts and they're all role models and inspiration to the younger generation. And nobody fits the bill better than M Krishna, who is the most brilliant Carnatic vocalist of our times. But again, as I said, he's much more than that. Krishna is very outspoken. He writes. He's an author. His music video Paramboku on YouTube kind of broke the internet, as they say. And more than above all, he's really engaged with every minute of life. Thank you very much, Krishna, for joining the Outlier. It's a delight to have you. It's always a delight to speak to you.
Satish, happy to be here. I hope you're well.
Yeah. So in fact, I wanted to begin by asking for a musician, for a performer, to be on stage, to get that energy from the audience is so important. How has the lockdown been for you? Where you can't meet anybody, where you're inside the house, where you can't sing.
I technically can sing at home, but the stage is missing. There's no doubt about it. I think every performing artist will tell you that being on the stage or being with people, actually, it's probably not the stage. It's about being with people and sharing art and sharing an experience. And that experience, I believe artists are catalysts of that experience more than anything else. And to be not able to do that, I think is difficult for all artists, irrespective of the genre, irrespective of where they are. It is almost like as if a soul, the whole emotional centering of the person is missing. Because whether you speak to a Kuttu artist or a Lavani artist or a Kathak dancer or a Carnatic musician or Hindustani musician, ball artist, whatever the reasons are for that art, whether it is ritual, whether it is social, or whether it is in a proscenium stage or on the street or in the temple, that whole, the whole idea of the performing art is that it is a live interaction among human beings in an emotional sphere. And that emotional sphere is touched upon by sound, light, movement, melody, rhythm, dialogues, poetry, name it. And I think to not have that is very difficult for an artist. I'll just give an example. We've been working with a lot of marginalized artists over the last 2 months, and we're trying to do a small video. I can tell you so many of them were saying, really, we want to do it. We will do it in our terrace. Just that they want to come together, 4 of them or 5 of them, and just feel performance again, feel art again. And that's very difficult. And unfortunately, Satish, even after the lockdown, I don't see the performing arts really finding any space in our social sphere for a long time, and something we have to really think deep about.
Yeah, I can absolutely. Krishna, the images of migrants, the images of poor workers from the cities walking away to their villages, which has moved us all. But it also seems like the Indian middle class has discovered the poor for the first time. Earlier in the cities, while you're passing through a flyover and you see a family living under it, you could avert your eyes. You could hurriedly walk through a construction site where you know that the workers are living in inhuman conditions. For the first time, it seems that they are really staring at us, and you can't avoid looking at them. Do you think this revelation, is going to change something, at the policy level, at the thought level, or do you think once the crisis is over, they will become as invisible as they were before?
Well, I'd like to believe that I am wrong, and this is a point of marked change in human behavior as far as middle class India is concerned. But I'm not going. Maybe I'm a pessimist. Maybe I'm being negative, as some people may think. But I don't see. I really don't see this happening out of understanding of the people. It is coming from great sympathy. And when something comes out of sympathy, there is a lacking of understanding of your own participation in the marginalization and in the invisibilization of these people. Like you pointed out, I live in this house because migrants came and built this house. We go to
Yes.
office because migrants built those buildings. At no point have we recognized
Yes.
this, have we respected it. I think what is very important here is, what do we respect in people? Whom do we respect? What do we value? When you look at migrants as being just necessary tools, they are not even humanized. They are not people who are needed to put one brick on another and needed to plaster the cement. That's about it. They're just people who are there, like, including, say, an axe or a shovel. A migrant is one of those things. That is how we think, and which is why we don't even see them. When we go to our own construction sites, let's be very honest. When we go to our own construction sites, we speak
Yes.
to the person who's a manager. We don't see the people who are working when that is happening. Now what has happened, and callously we say they always migrate. No, this is a very different kind of suffering and migration we are seeing today. We are seeing them unable to go home for a fault of ours, for our own uncaringness, our own inaptitude. You have people wanting to walk all the way from Chennai to Arunachal Pradesh. Yes, we are noticing them and we feel pity, but that's not what we should feel. We should feel that we have taken away their right for
Yes.
decent and respectful living. We have taken it away from them. We, including every citizen, every middle class, every government, every official, have taken away that. I went towards the borders of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, where the migrants are walking. I can tell you that these people, like I wrote in my column in the Hindu, they are irritants for people. Why are these people coming to my district? Why are they walking? Can't they just stay at home? That's the attitude we have. I got an email today, Satish, just today, and I'm going to read two lines from it. It was from just an arbitrary person, but I have to read that out because it's very close to what you're asking me. Basically, the individual said to me, and just give me a second, let it load, and I will read it out to you. I will read out two lines from the email. This was an email that was sent by some person. He said, how about the responsibilities of the migrant workers towards themselves, their families, and their employers? Could the migrants not anticipate the chaos they would sow in their villages? Did they think their hometowns would either welcome them or provide comfort? Is it fair to become so despondent and fall at the mercy of others? Can officials order trains or resting places to appear out of thin air? This is from a middle class person. It's an email I received
Yeah.
today. So I'm not going to be so hunky dory and feel that we are changing. No, I think sometimes we do this also to make ourselves feel better. Yes, it ultimately helps people because we actually shell out some money. But I don't believe I yet understood what it means to respect an individual, irrespective of the social, political, economic, or a cultural address of that individual.
And as a country, we really don't have a culture, where celebrities and famous people come out and speak. And a few of them, like yourself, who do that, they are termed, armchair activists. That they just give lip service to a cause and vanish after that.
Yeah, it's very ironic that people make these accusations. First of all, anyone should be able to participate in the political or social discourse. Everyone participates in a way that they choose to participate. Nobody can enforce a certain kind of participation. The same people who accuse artists who speak up as being armchair activists are very happy to share and retweet nonsensical, violent messages sent by artists who say things that benefit this group or benefit a very parochial thinking. So, this is just convenience. 100 people tell me, why do you even speak? Your job is to sing. Stay with your
Yeah.
core competency. And these are the people in the IT buildings or chartered accountants who are spewing venom on everything under the sun. So I have stopped reacting to such nonsensical, honestly brainless, and if I may say, absolutely thoughtless kind of commentary that seems easy in social media. I think every artist needs to be participating politically and culturally. Any artist who claims that their art is they are not political, the moment they say they're not political, they made a political statement. They should
Yes.
remember our very existence is political. from the time that we were conceived, from the time that it was who our father and mother was, or who our grandfather was. Every second of existence is a political existence. So,
Right.
participating robustly in a political discourse is essential, if not for anything, for our own uh, maturing, understanding, and opening of our own mind. Even for goddamn selfish reasons, I request every artist to stop lying that they are non political.
And in this case, when the country is going through such a crisis, and there is, as you said, the artists are going hungry, and there is nothing much to do. I mean, there is the artist fund that you've started, the labor fund that you've started. There is actually tangible. I mean, it's not so much armchair. I mean, there is tangible evidence of funds being collected, of things happening, of lives being changed, isn't it?
Well, two sets of groups of people. I think what has been wonderful about what we've tried to do over the last 2 months is we're not under any organization or banner. It is just 20, 25 people who have been managing this labor fund. There are people from various political outlooks also, I must tell you. And but they've all come together. We're all doing different things. I take care of the back end. There's another person doing advocacy for the migrant workers when there are cases where the state or private parties are not paying their wages. This is another reality. Let's remember that people are holding back wages so that they can make sure that the worker doesn't go back to his hometown. So there's
Yes.
advocacy, there is transfer of funds that is happening. We've also given food. We've tried to support tribal people as much as possible. So that's the labor fund. We have till now, I think, worked with about 35 lakhs that has come, 35, 36 lakhs that we have worked with for this. We also have an artist fund,
That's
which was set up by 4, 5 of us. And that started with actually
very
a
good.
concert I sang on the 29th of March. Sorry,
That's
I lost you,
fantastic,
Satish.
Krishna. So how does it work? I mean, what do you do to the funds? I mean, is it actually sort of given to them? I mean, what is the process? How do you go about it once you collect it?
So, yeah, I will first tell you about the labor fund and then the artist fund. The labor fund, there are two different things we do. One is we do everyday transfers. Even to today, migrants, we supported about 21,000 migrant workers for about 2 months. Now, about
Oh,
40-50% have gone back to their towns. There are still about 40% in Chennai and other regions. We still send them every day, or every day there's a transfer happening directly to bank accounts. Other than that, we were providing food for the homeless in the city of Chennai. We provided vegetables, dry rations, masks. We even sent out dry ration packages to Irula tribes near Coimbatore. Other than this, there's advocacy. So all this is happening in the labor fund. It's still going on, and we're still wondering what to do. We're trying to also pressure the government to be more proactive, especially in the case of the way. I mean, there's total ineptness, to be put it bluntly, uncaring political setup, and inept bureaucracy. That's the most dangerous combination that we can have, and this country is full of it right now, starting from New Delhi
yeah,
downward onwards. And
yeah.
so we're trying to do what we can. Luckily, we have a slightly more sensitive High Court compared to the Supreme Court of India. Therefore, we're able to do a little bit here. We also So there are multiple things happening in the labor fund where multiple groups are involved and each one is doing their thing. Like I said, it's a very loose group who come together. The artist fund started with a concert I sang on 29th March, which was seed money for this fund. And in this, what we have done basically is we've transferred directly to their accounts, cash transfers, to artists of various art forms, various regions, whether it is Carnatic music or Kut, Parai, musicians in Meghalaya, rock musicians, musicians, Manganiyars in Jaisalmer, to the Katputli colony in Delhi, to Bihar, to West Bengal, to Tamil Nadu,
Mhm.
Kerala, Theyyam artists in Kerala, Yakshagana artists in Karnataka. We have until now supported close to 1,500 artists across this country, and we have done cash transfers on an average, because it varies for various reasons. on an average for about 3,400 rupees per person, per family. This also includes instrument makers, technicians, stage managers, people, sometimes valets who help out. So we have tried to do whatever we can. This is still going on. I mean, we're hoping that we get more money. We're still trying to get more money, and we have collected for that
Yes, I
about
mean,
45 lakhs until now has been dispersed.
that's great. I hope more and more people come forward. Maybe more corporates, more organizations come forward to help.
Absolutely. We've had, we must say, we have great support from a lot of people. A lot of people have very generously given, and we need more support. We're trying to do the best. In fact, between June 10th and 15th, we are doing an online festival. And the festival has been, all these artists have shot in their specific homes in their villages, wherever they are, and sent us 20-minute performances. The idea is also that everybody needs to start paying for all art forms. So we are just doing a small campaign of saying, pay whatever you want on this Milap fundraiser, and you'll get access to watch the festival for 5 days. And trying to do more work, we'll see.
Krishna, you were saying that every minute we live is actually political. When you're born, you're asked your father's name, your grandfather's name, and such. This is something that you tried in your books, this Brahminical stranglehold that Carnatic music has had in the past, and it still continues to be. It's something that you've addressed in your books very well, and also in your other writings. In your generation, are you seeing a change?
Well, I think the Brahminical stranglehold is the Indian societal stranglehold, and a manifestation of which you're seeing in Carnatic music, because it's at the core center of the Brahminical value systems. Be surprised. That should not surprise us at all. So, the Brahminical stranglehold is a national stranglehold. The whole Indian nation, to a large extent, in everything that we have done from independence, has been based on a Brahminical value system that we have all subscribed to. And all the powers have come, all the people in power have also subscribed to, believed in, consciously or unconsciously spread it, and foundationalized it itself. We have to say that in spite of our constitution, in many ways being almost a questioning of the Brahminical stranglehold, our systems of working as a democratic nation has still remained, which is why Carnatic music, even so more, remains in the Brahminical stranglehold, because it is at the core center of what is believed as ideal values. Have things changed? I think it's a good question. It's difficult to answer because, as you know, Satish, cultural transformation is the most difficult thing that can ever happen. It's not as easy as it is said. Economic transformation, even socio-political or economic restructuring, all that can be done. But this we cannot do. So this takes a while. So as far as my generation goes, I think it's harder to expect some amount of reflection and change. And I can, in a way, understand why. I don't agree, but I can understand why. But I'd like to believe that the next generation are at least seriously considering these questions. And what I find gratifying as a person who has been strongly speaking about all these things from the cultural arena is that at least nationally today, everybody is asking that question about hierarchy within art, about hierarchy within different art forms, about the Brahminical idea within different art forms. Whatever, I may have achieved nothing, but I think I can definitely say at least one important thing that has happened in the last decade, while I started asking these questions, is that today it is an obvious question that nobody can run away from. Which means I think the next generation are grappling with it. They may not be in agreement, they may not think the way you and I think, they may disagree with me, but I think the fact is that they are grappling with it. They probably don't still agree or understand the nuances to it, but I'm positive. There, I want to be more positive about it because I've received calls after people read Sebastian and Sons, my latest book, saying, asking questions or wondering about the little things they did in life, or people from the similar upper caste background who may not know anything about Mridangam, wondering about their own ideas. So I'd like to say that within the world of arts, this next generation, I'm hopeful that at least these things will be robustly debated. That's a great step forward.
In fact, in your latest book, Sebastian and Sons, it's such a, it's such a underlying thing all through the book. The mridangam makers are almost always non-Brahmins, and the mridangam players are almost always Brahmins. And this relationship between them, it's actually it's fraught in one sense, but it's also so nuanced. I mean, it's like it's not just a sort of a a hierarchical thing in that sense, isn't it? I mean, it's quite complex actually. It's
I mean, it is very complex. I mean, Satish, when look at the Mridangam makers, most of them are from the Dalit community. Mridangam players, 99.9% today are from the Brahmin community. Even in the past, many were from the Isai community, who were the community that played the Tamil Nadaswaram and were also part of the Devadasi community. So, I mean, these two communities have been dominant, and I would say the Brahmin community for most of the time, including the present. The relationship is so complicated, which is what fascinated me the most. It's very unusual in our society for a Dalit and a Brahmin to have an intimate relationship. You can have a functional relationship, where it's at home, somebody is doing your chores. It's functional. I mean, you may still ask some very few personal questions, but it's not intimate. Here, between the mridangam maker and the player, there is also an intimacy, because the intimacy is that catalyst called the mridangam, which is sitting in between both of them. And the intimacy actually is sonic. I mean, it's so beautiful if you think of it. No? The intimacy is because of sound. A seeking of a sound, the creator of the sound. I will call the seeker the player, and I will call the creator the maker. And through that sound, there is this complex. The Tamil word for it is anbu, affection. There is this affection, yet it is wrought in a very, very casteist framework, which the Brahmin is brought up to subscribe to believe in, and sees and has normalized it. The Dalit has also normalized it. In some way, it is also seen as being a little aspirational, because you're getting close intimacy to an upper caste Brahmin person. I mean, they have had conversations which are not normal. So it's that's the whole ugliness of caste. That's the whole thing we need to understand. It is not about a door being open or a shut only. It is about how it allows for complex human emotions to be strangled held within its framework, with nobody having the ability to actually break free of it without actually deconstructing their own existence. There is no other way to break free of it. You have to deconstruct your own existence. If this framework has to break between a relationship, in this case, the mridangam player, because he does come from socially powerful, must completely be willing to deconstruct a social belief system that is ingrained, which means demolish so many things that they trust.
Yes.
That is so complicated. Or you have to have a maker who's willing to be absolutely frontal and said, "This is who I am. I don't care. We are equals." This is a very complicated situation, and I think that is what is very important in that book. Is for each one of us to see how many of these kind of complex relationships we have. What do we do with it? How do we normalize it? Sometimes we think, I mean, even in the book it comes out, that a player thinks because he shares a cup of tea in a dhaba with a maker, they're equals. If you're not equal, you're still not equal. You feel proud about yourself. It is actually a self-affirming further casts this notion that you are not like the rest, that you are open. So I mean, there is no clear answer, but that is where the grappling is, where I think the truth lies. Very philosophically put, the grappling, the truth is in the grappling, and not in seeking an answer to the solution. I think it's multiple pathways that open to our own hearts. Hearts are where everything is.
Absolutely. That's well put, Krishna. And the other aspect that this coronavirus pandemic has thrown up is the environment. Suddenly in Delhi here, we've never had a better April and May. There are blue skies, there are birds, it's raining, and the weather is actually. Do you think so? Suddenly everybody is again aware that this is what it could have been. If we had all sort of, this is again another, do you think we are going to go back to our old ways, or do you think we might learn something from this and, reduce, recycle?
Well, while I completely understand why we feel this way, for example, I've noticed things in the city of Chennai which I never saw before. I never noticed the
Hmm.
bougainvillea blossoming like it did this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's where the contradiction of life is, right? One side you have something incredibly beautiful, which you're noticing for the first time. Go to the other street, there's something so ugly, if people want to walk home on the other side.
Yeah.
So how does one
Yeah.
reconcile these contradictions? And I mean, that's also a struggle in some ways. I don't want to romanticize this. I want to be a bit careful about us romanticizing this period of time. As especially I can understand why in Delhi you would romanticize it, considering what havoc you've created to the environment. At the same time, I don't think I want to, because if we want to change things, if we truly want to change things, it is us who have actually made things horrible who need to change. I'm talking about the people who are socially, economically, and politically empowered. We are the ones that need to
Yeah.
change. My worry about romanticizing something like this is usually we will not change. We will point fingers at exactly those people who are walking all the way back home today,
Yeah.
or the people in the basti,
True.
and say that they are
Yeah.
the dirty ones. They are the ones who, so if this is going to lead to a revolution of thinking among the middle and upper middle class of our society, then I'm all for it. But if this is going to lead to further stigmatization of those who are already vulnerable, then I don't want this romanticization. I don't want to
Yes.
feel good that it's blue sky. I know I sound very strong when I say this. I'm just worried because we work in these cycles and we have to break this cycle in some fashion.
In fact, this is something that you've been writing recently, this left liberal thought. I mean, this sort of, the way the world has progressed over the last few decades, is this the way it should have gone? Environment, of course, is only one aspect of it. The inequalities, the distribution of, riches, it's
Yes.
so skewed. I mean, do you think there may be some, at least in the younger generation, a sort of a stop and pause and think where we are heading and where we have, what this has come, where we have come to, and maybe there is a better way?
I mean, there has to be a better way. Okay, and we're all thinking in binaries. If you start this conversation, everybody says capitalism versus communism. I can tell you 90% of the
Yeah,
people having this conversation have not read Karl Marx. Okay, if you
yeah,
say communism, they can think of Russia, Stalin, Lenin, and Mao and China. Let me just put this out
yeah.
here. Communism does not belong to the Soviet Union, neither does it belong to China, neither does it belong to any of the East Bloc countries, neither does it belong to South America. Communism is an idea, okay, and socialism is an idea. And I would think it's essential that we take these ideas into the complex political economic framework that we're building. There are many communist ideas that are part of very capitalist economies. Free public healthcare is a very, very communist socialist kind of thinking that is
Yes,
there in many capitalists. So let's take the binaries off. I think what is very clear now is that we need a far more sensitive, far more people oriented, especially the people in the margins, or the people in the minorities, oriented kind of political economic thinking. Now, this is essential, and we need also a rethinking of what is the duty of a government. What are the things that a government just has to give its people? And it cannot come at a cost that they give that. It's the duty of the social fabric that we create that provides these things to people. I think that needs, in fact, I would say the way the communism or the left thinking, let's not even call it communism, or the left thinking, which has so many shades, is very robust in this country of India. If there's any country
mm,
to look up to where you could have a very complicated political economic thought which is not boxed in any one thing, but is boxed in the idea of empathy, not
yeah,
boxed, can we say framed? I reword me myself, framed in the idea of empathy. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care what name you call it. I don't care whether it's left, right, up, or down. But if we have a political thinking and an economic thinking, that is about the last person who is at the edge and the margin of society. Every time we make an economic policy, the economic policy must be based on the person who is not in our sight, who is on the margin, whose name we
Yes.
would never know. If we start thinking from there, then I think it's a new way of creating economies. What I've said is not rocket science. What I've said is not something that's said before. I mean, those who love to talk about Indian traditions should think of the Buddha.
Yes.
Should think of the Buddha. Should think of the Upanishads.
Yeah.
Should think of every religion. Think of Jesus. Think of Allah. Because all these thought processes are ultimately all the social arguments out for this are ultimately about that person who goes unnoticed dead. If our economy and our politics and our social framework is based on that individual who's buried or burned without an identity because of something we did, then I think we will have a new India.
Thank you very much, Krishna. It was a very invigorating conversation, as it always is with you. And now, before we go, if I may request, with so much dread and despair all around us, to soothe our souls, if you could just sing a few strands from a raga.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Satish. Thank you for a lovely conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Krishna. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks.
for joining the Outlook.